Welcome everyone tonight to our teleclinic on the question, how is Shaklee different? I'm Dr. Brouse and I hope to answer some of your questions tonight and to show a picture of how I see this unique company. Before we answer the question though, we need to realize, what is it that everyone needs? Well, we actually know that in order for our genes in our chromosomes to express themselves, we have to have clean air to breathe, pure water to drink, and nutritional supplements to optimize our diet. There's no question about these things. We also have to have confidence in what we're doing is the right thing to do. The question, which brand should we use in order to help supplement and care for our bodies the way we should, is the question. And the answer is we need to patronize only those companies that provide tested and proven products that are economical and do not harm the environment. This is fundamental to our existence on this planet. And if the green movement would get behind Shaklee the way it has in other things, we would have a wonderful outcome for the whole world. We want to choose to be preventive minded. I want you to know that Shaklee is not for everyone. 60% of the people in this country are hardworking, good citizens, wonderful people, but they're passive. They let life happen to them more than it should, saying, well, the experts know more than I do, and I guess that's the right thing since everybody's doing it. They're the people that will end up being on medications to control symptoms. They will frequent the emergency room. They'll shop for individual sales, and quite often they use Walmart as their primary source of products. However, 40% of Americans want to do what's right and best for themselves and for other people as well. The problem is many of them are confused and even skeptical about a company that steps forward and says, we think we have the proper solution. Let's start with the facts in helping to explain this. Number one is nature knows best. Scientists don't know best. Politicians definitely don't know best. And us individual citizens don't. But Dr. Shaklee realized at a very young age that nature is the source of all of the benefits that we experience in life. Our health, as well as our well-being and perpetuation of a healthy next generation. And so he looked to nature. Now, when I had the privilege of meeting Dr. Shaklee, I said, Dr. Shaklee, when people say, how does Shaklee compare to other products? He says, that's the wrong question to ask. What we need to ask is, how does brand X compare to the way it is in nature? And how does Shaklee compare with the way it's found in nature? Nature is the standard. And we can't forget that one simple rule, that if we're obeying nature, we're going to be doing the best for ourselves and for the planet and for other people as well. Shaklee has been preventive minded. Everything about Shaklee has been around quality standards in health, happiness, and even the environment since 1915. It was in 1915, the first year that Dr. Forrest Shaklee began his chiropractic practice, that he realized that people need more than just the meat and potatoes and gravy and the recently discovered canned foods that were available that saw the very first light of day at the Cuban Spanish-American War, where we fed our soldiers on canned foods. And he saw the depreciation in the quality of health at that time as a result of eating more sugar, eating more preserved foods, and he got very concerned about that. He believed that nature had the answers. He had recovered from two serious illnesses, one consumption that we call, which is tuberculosis as a child. He wasn't expected to live. And then second of all, later from radiation burns, because chiropractors held their patients in front of the x-ray machine while the x-ray ran, sometimes for 2 or 3 minutes, in order to get an exposure of their spine. And he recovered from that. So he went to nature and he looked at the laws of nature and he realized that health comes from within. And this he termed a vital energy, and that is a primary function and belief in all natural practitioners, that the body heals itself if we give it the ingredients it needs. But we have to have healthy food, water, and meaningful work in order to be happy and healthy. So he produced a product called Vitalized Minerals that now has a 104-year product history, although it has been approved upon dozens of times. In the product we now know as Vitalized Vitalia, the multiple vitamin that has 7 patents on the way that it dissolves and distributes and gets reabsorbed into the body. There are many, many products on the market, but there are very few, if any, that have had a 104-year product history with improvements every step along the way and 7 patents to back it up. Many doctors now, including myself, feel that this product is the most researched product on the market today. There is no other vitamin mineral product that has had more science applied to it than Shaklee Vitalia. I like Shaklee because the people that are involved in it follow the golden rule, and I don't mean that as a cliche. I mean that they have positive people that are involved in the business and in the products and in the development and the research that are both honest in their life as well as in their business. They care about other people, and they're concerned so much that Shaklee users, this is the people who take and consume the products that have nothing to do with the company itself, created an organization called Shaklee Cares. And whenever there is a disaster anywhere in the world, not just in the U.S., from our earthquakes or from our tsunamis or hurricanes, but anywhere in the world, Shaklee Cares goes out and provides them with basic cleaning and nutritional products to help the individual citizens through that crisis. I know of no other company that does this. And this isn't company, this is the individuals that are involved in the day-to-day use of the products, you and me. We're the ones that created this, and it's an amazing foundation, and we provide and we actually donate into this organization so that if something happens, Shaklee is there, usually before the Red Cross, usually when they get the first go-ahead from the government agencies. They're on the job. 64 years of flawless business history. Not only products that work, but also developing a business line along this. In 1956, Dr. Shaklee said to his sons who wanted to start a company with his products, he said, how can we do it so that it is not consumed by manufacturers or consumed by marketers? How can we design this? And it was Forrest Jr. that said, well, Dad, how did you develop your practice for those 40 years? How did you build a practice? And he said, well, word of mouth. He said, that's the way we should do it. And we should reward the people who find the products helpful and share it with their friends. And so word of mouth advertising started at that time. And it was a business that was based upon the same principle that every professional operates on. And that is, if I'm doing a good job, tell your friends. If I'm doing a poor job, tell me. And to date, we have not had any company that has met the same standards that Shaklee has. Shaklee has a AAA rating with all financial and consumer agencies. It's paid out over $2.5 billion in commissions to those of us who have maybe shared Shaklee with other people. It's been a research leader in the world of nutrition. There are more R&D and quality control PhDs that work for Shaklee than the next 3 largest companies combined. And I've said this for a number of years, and there hasn't been any company come forward and question that. They spend $350 million a year, or well, I should say in all of their research and development to prove that the products work, that they're safe, and that they do what they say they're going to do. They published over 120 clinical trials and product studies in peer-reviewed journals and articles that show that this is a world-class company backed by world-class scientists, including Nobel Prize winners and world-renowned experts in the field of nutrition and health and wellness. Even Dr. Oz and Oprah think Shaklee products are phenomenal. And actually, Shaklee was promoted 8 times by Oprah on her program. So it's an interesting concept that other people of well-meaning and high visibility recognize Shaklee as well as just those, I'll call them us nerds that are in a laboratory and who are doing studies on numbers and lab tests. They're actually people in the real outward world who are supporting this as well. We also realize that Shaklee has been a primary supporter of the U.S. Olympic teams. There have been 137 gold, silver, and bronze medalists that were powered by Shaklee athletes in the games up through 2018. And by the way, these products were proven in clinical trials and in competition to meet standards that are very, very difficult to meet with no drug effects whatsoever. None of the Shaklee athletes have ever shown to be positive for any banned or contraband compound. That is an unusual thing in this day and age, and so we think this is an amazing thing. In 2018, the Winter Olympic athletes, here are 30 of the top competitors. Many of them took medals at the Winter Sports in 2018, so I just want to recognize the benefits to those people. But also we have other customers, including Jacques Cousteau. All of the Cousteau research vessels use Basic H and all the Shaklee cleaners and the cleaning products, the supplements, because Jacques Cousteau and Dr. Shaklee met, and Jacques Cousteau was so impressed with the work that Dr. Shaklee did, he wrote it into their protocols that they would use Shaklee products from then on. The Voyager, the non-stop flight around the world with no fueling and no potty breaks or anything, is one of the top things that ever was performed, and it was powered by Shaklee, as well as the Nautilus, the human-powered flight that was 90 miles across the Aegean Sea by a world-class bicyclist who was powered by Shaklee. So these things actually have been amazing, but when it gets down to the personal stuff, Shaklee has been known by Life magazine as being involved in powering 7 of the top 25 greatest human physical achievements ever done. This means that climbing to the top of Mount Everest without oxygen, using only nutrition, and carrying in a sled, human-powered, traveled across the Arctic and now the Antarctic as well, powered by Shaklee Nutrition, and other things have been outstanding. And Shaklee has been noted as being a leader and is sought after as a consultant to many projects across the world. Not only that, but NASA has gotten involved, and here we see Captain Mark Kelly, as well as his twin brother, who are astronauts, who are faithful users of Shaklee products. Shaklee Nutrition was in the space capsule, and here's Dr. Mark Kelly showing his use of and his display of the Shaklee Vitalizer as well. Shaklee has always had a respect for nature, and Dr. Shaklee's quote in his book, Reflections on a Philosophy, he simply states that only by studying and preserving all measurable natural factors and obeying all of nature's laws can a health product be in harmony with nature. And that is the philosophy in a nutshell of Shaklee, being in harmony with nature, which I really like. And as Mother Teresa said, thinking globally but acting locally is what Shaklee has done to a great extent. Shaklee is the first company to ever be awarded the climate neutral company in the cleaning industry. Their ability to offset all of the greenhouse gases of everything that they do, including travel, cardboard boxes, the plastic containers and all the containers they use, they're all compensated by climate neutral activities, which have been ongoing, but also the Shaklee headquarter building itself that was redesigned and built is all around natural and sustainable activities. Solar, using passing solar and photovoltaics, along with all of the other things to promote and to assure that they are going to be a company that stays ahead in terms of EPA climate aspects. They, as I said, they were the first company in the world to be certified as climate neutral, offsetting all of their CO2 gases. And you go to the website and you can see the great things that have been promoted as a result of that. They were the first company. There have been several others that have followed Shaklee's laws and Shaklee's guidance, but they were the very, very first. And they were given a presidential commendation by President Clinton. Personal environmental safe. These are food grade products, not technical or agricultural grade. And I can tell you some companies that actually have come to me and wanted me to try their products. When I visit their plant, I see that they're using bags of dried milk from carnation and bags of soybeans that are agriculture and animal grade from leading companies that manufacture those. They do not use high quality stuff. Shaklee uses food grade and even research grade components in everything that they do. They never test on animals. Their cosmetics are made from natural foods and minerals, and their house cleaners are beyond question. As a matter of fact, it was Basic H which really caught our attention as a useful thing around the farm. And those of you who recall, there have been pamphlets put out on how to use Basic H. The original Basic H was the blue product that Dr. Shaklee discovered in his lab when he was doing research on soy. He found that a simple biochemical process converted soy oil into one of the most active and biodegradable cleaners around. That's actually safe for the environment and breaks down within 48 hours into harmless nutrients for your soil. And actually, we put it on our fruit trees as a dormant spray, and on our grass to control little wheelie crawlies that come around that'll snip you in the grass. It's wonderful. Basic H earned the official cleaner of Earth Day in 1990 because of its safety and effectiveness. It's the only cleaner I take when I go to the ranch. It's the only thing that I've used to actually wash my hair, and I've even brushed my teeth when I've been out hunting for a few days. It's a wonderful thing to have, and it works. Now, it's not recommended for that, but I've done it, so be careful. Products, Shaklee's only produce products that meet real needs, and there are some other safe products, Basic I, for the industrial cleaner, which is now in a different format. Basic L for laundry, Basic D for dishes, Basic G and all-purpose germicidal, and the germicidal paper napkins that you can carry with you. Those of you who are concerned about catching viruses, you can clean the doorknobs and wash your hands and do that wonderfully well. Nature Bright, the oxygen bleach, the very first non-chlorine, non-cancer causing bleach that we know of on the market, was developed by Shaklee. The Softer Than Soft laundry softener is a safe, environmental friendly compound. So these products meet real needs that we use every day. Nutritional supplements, I could spend hours talking about the products being in harmony with nature and good health. But Shaklee uses things that are compatible with life, that do not detract in any way from life, and that are bioidentical in every respect to what we would find. Some people ask me, well, how can you make a B complex all natural? Well, we don't go out and scrape it off the bottom of a log in the forest. We have to grow it in an environmental controlled area, but it is grown with natural yeasts and the molds that use it in nature to make B complex and so forth. So the supplements themselves have followed the 2016 guidelines of the FDA to protect consumers against any potential contamination or alteration during processing or during transport or during storage. You have to be careful where your products come from this day and age, because the amount of pollutants in third world areas, such as China and even some unscrupulous companies in the US, they do not go that step. They do not go that far. It guarantees the authenticity of what's in the product with no GMOs, no pesticides, herbicides, or preservatives, or colorants, or any questionable ingredients whatsoever. And I love it that whenever we see the name on our label of Shaklee and people say, well, I don't know what that means, you can contact the company and you can ask them, what is this derived from? Some of you attend our Wednesday morning coffee talks where I take individual ingredients that are found in the Shaklee line. And there's over 450 of them, by the way, of different ingredients. And I go over them one at a time in 5 minutes. And we take that time to show the Shaklee difference at the molecular level. So what about the studies that Shaklee has done? Well, in 2007, Shaklee published a paper that we call the Landmark Study by Dr. Gladys Block, the University of California. And she pointed out, and she was asked by Shaklee, will you design an experiment to see how our products compare with other products on the market and compared with the Haynes database of the health of Americans and nutritional status, the standards that are published every year. So Dr. Block set up a set of experiments to measure things like health measures such as cholesterol, triglycerides, a compound called homocysteine, which we know is very important for protecting the heart and brain, and a compound called C-reactive protein, which is a primary biomarker for inflammation and long-term stress on tissues. And she found, among others, there were many other tests that were done, but she found remarkable improvements that were published. And this was published in 2007 in the magazine Nutrition Journal. And what happened was no one else came forward to have their products tested. No company to date that I am aware of has ever said, we want you to compare our products with Shaklee or with any other company or with none of them or against the Haynes database. And I do not know of one other company that has done that. This was a very, very step in faith that Shaklee took, because they could have found out that there was something that was wrong, that their products could have been doing wrong, and it would have been published. And Dr. Block said she has never seen any study at all like this before, and she said she'd been waiting for a company that claims they have good products and all these wonderful clinical results to put their product forward, and comparing this against hundreds and thousands of other people and groups of people. The 200 people in this study made a very, very good foundational group to look at carefully and to study. And she was amazed to find out that the Shaklee people did so well compared to all the other people that were buying their products at wholesale and online. When you buy a product online that's very inexpensive, many times what you're buying is a product that couldn't be sold because it was too close to the expiration date, or the expiration date was exceeded and the product has undergone degradation, and they were told to dispose of the product because it had gone beyond that. And a company, GNC, has actually been sued in multiple cases where they've had products that were sitting up to 5 years after the expiration date. Now, the date may not be on the label, but the code will be, and you have to contact the company to find out when that product was manufactured and if the expiration date has been made. And you should do that. If you're going to be a shopper online, you need to know when that product was manufactured and if it has been, if it's past its expiration date, because you're taking a big risk. You do not know, and you can't base it on hearsay. I've had people that have said, well, I took this brand of botanicals for my hormones and it worked really well the first couple times I used it, and then another time it did nothing and actually I had bad effects. Well, the quality control of those companies' products is not high enough, and so they get some groups of product that are good and some that aren't good, and they can't tell the difference because they don't do the testing and study, and Shaklee does. So that's the key. You've got to know that your product is going to deliver every time the same quality benefits. Now, second study was done by another researcher at the University of California in San Francisco, and this happens to be Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, who was a Nobel Prize winner in medicine for her discovery of telomeres. Now, some of you may remember that telomeres are actually the measuring devices of how healthy and the longevity of that cell based upon the length of telomeres that are found on every chromosome. Every chromosome has a telomere, which is kind of like the plastic on the end of your shoelace. And every time you tie your shoes, you put a little bit more stress on that plastic until finally the plastic falls off and it wears out. And she found out that that's exactly what happens in chromosomes when they're affected by malnutrition, by toxicity, by stress, by the genetics itself, that the telomeres will begin to shorten. And when the telomeres shorten, it will get to a point where that chromosome cannot function, and the genes within that chromosome fail to do their job. And when that happens, the cell starts undergoing rapid aging and finally death. And so her discovery not only won the Nobel Prize in medicine, but it was also part of the foundational study for what we call the telomere study that was done by Shaklee, and it was guided by Dr. Blackburn. She looked at Shaklee users over a 2-year period of time and found that those people who use Shaklee products would age slower than other people who were taking Brand X or who were just eating the 3 standard meals a day. What that means was a person who is 80 years old would have the chromosomal protection of someone who is 41. In other words, there was a reduction in the aging rate by 40% in people who used the Shaklee products. And this was a longitudinal study that is still going forward. And so this we call the Landmark 2 study, and there will probably be more studies done in the future. But again, Dr. Blackburn is a Nobel Prize winner in medicine, and her studies have been touted as some of the greatest discoveries in human nutrition and in longevity. And she's quoted in nearly every study that's done on that area. And Shaklee has the study behind them that the products do help telomere length to keep them nice and long where they should be. Now, Shaklee's company is owned by Roger Barnett, 51% of all the stock. And Roger has now turned 50. He is a billionaire who has a long history of successful management in business. He had 4 other companies that reached over $1 billion in total business activity. And he was looking for a company that was positioned for the future. He bought Shaklee Corporation from Yamanouchi, who owned the stock for the company. And the reason he did it was he said there is no company like Shaklee with the history, with the product, and with the future effect that it can have in a positive way upon the world. And so he teamed up with people such as Wangari Maathai, who was a 2004 Nobel Prize winner in peace for planting 1 million trees to turn the country of Kenya from a rapidly destroyed jungle and vegetation area into a Sahara desert. Desertization was taking place in Kenya at an alarming rate, and Wangari Maathai was able to organize 1 million women to plant 1 million trees to slow down and to reverse the process. And from satellite studies now, we see that the forests of Kenya are growing back as a result of the work that Dr. Wangari Maathai did. And Roger Barnett has helped support her worldwide effort. Actually, I have a few hundred trees that have been planted in my name, and many of you have had the same, but Shaklee has encouraged the reforestation of areas that have become desertized as a result of over-farming, over-pasturing, and people in third world countries still using combustible material, wood and coal, for their sole source of energy and heat and cooking their food. And so Roger Barnett went in and has supported her worldwide effort to make this happen. And it is an amazing step. And Roger has done that through the efforts of Shaklee. Shaklee is a professional industry leader with 55 PhDs in their R&D and quality control group. They have 87 individual tests on every product, with over 100,000 product tests every year, including those done 350 individual botanical tests. Every herb that's used in Shaklee is tested for not only pesticides and chemicals, but also for nutrient availability. You know, if you pick your alfalfa and you leave it sit out in the sun, you're going to lose some of the carotenoids and some of the enzyme activity because it's damaged just from mishandling. And so Shaklee measures the details about those raw materials, and they measure the quality through every step of manufacturing. And then finally, they test it for its, when it's put into a product, even its packaging and how well it survives the expectation date of the product. So how long it's going to be viable and useful is amazing. And Shaklee has over 45 patents. I give you the actual site for Shaklee patents if you want to look them up, and it's quite amazing of what they have done to guarantee the quality of their product and to keep it on the top of the market. The economy of Shaklee products has been questioned. I've heard people say, oh my goodness, it's so expensive. Well, not really, when you think that one bottle of Basic H would be enough to clean thousands of windows, and my wife has proven it. We use 5 gallons on the farm of Basic H for everything from cleaning to diluting our nutrients. I feed it to my chickens and my cows. I put it in their water. And I use it on our grass and on our orchards. And as I said, the only thing you don't want to put it on is don't spray it on tomato leaves. Tomato leaves do not like Basic H. There's something unique about those types of plants that have a real fuzzy texture to their leaf that they do not like to be super wet. They repel the water. So you can put it on the roots, but don't put it on the leaves. Anyway, the book, I have it on my website. It's a free handout on our website for people. It says Shaklee Your Farm, what you can use it for and how it works. But the economy of this product, it reduces waste because the product is concentrated. They don't have to have as much packaging, and Shaklee is working on right now coming up with recyclable packaging. It can be digested in natural environments. I'm waiting to see that come out, but they're working on it right now. They reduced their transportation costs because buying 5 gallons of Basic H lasts us, and I share it with my daughter, lasts us several years using it according to the concentration labeling. And I would say most people could use a quart around their house, and it would probably last for months. In just general use as well. The dilution effect, if you can dilute 1 quart of Basic H with 5 gallons of water and spray it on your lawn to take care of ticks and fleas and all kinds of bugs, it's amazing. It's in 48 hours it breaks down, so you may have to use it every couple of weeks. It has a tremendous benefit by not selling you the water and not selling you the other things that would be added to it. There are no fillers. When you buy a box of, and I'm going to say the name Tide soap, the amount of actual detergent in it is less than 1/4 of the box. More than 3/4 of it is inert filler to make you think you're getting a lot of soap in the box. And Shaklee doesn't do that. They don't use the fillers, and they don't use the other things that companies use to make their big box stand out in the grocery store. It's all concentrated and it can be diluted at home. What is really unique to me is that Dr. Shaklee developed that distribution and marketing program where anyone could receive some financial rewards if the product worked for them just by sharing Shaklee with someone else. And I have patients and single mothers even, who brought their sick children to me because she couldn't afford to buy the best quality food for her kids. She couldn't afford to take them to the doctor every time they had a sniffle. And she came and said, will you please show me how to give them optimum nutrition so that I can prevent them from being ill, because when they do, I miss work and I need every bit of income I can. And when she saw the difference, when she used Shaklee, in a few months, her mother, her sisters, her neighbors said, what are you doing? Your kids are so healthy and you seem so more alive. And she shared Shaklee and became an actual director within a few months. Her products then were actually free. And this is amazing. I remember Forrest Jr. years ago at Shaklee convention saying, don't you realize that the Shaklee guarantee says that if you use the products, you consume the entire contents of the product and you don't feel like you got some benefit, we'll give you your money back. And if it does work and it does what you're hoping for, if you share it with other people and they want to use it, we will give you a little bit of credit for that. And you can actually end up getting your own products totally free. And I've had dozens of patients who have used that as an effect so that they don't have to pay for Shaklee products. The company pays you to use the products and to share them with other people. I know of no other company that has that as the basic foundation of their distribution and management and marketing program. Shaklee is the only one. Now, there have been some others since that have tried to duplicate it with some real interesting ones. But remember that Shaklee has never missed a payment and paid out over $2.5 billion in compensation to people over the years. I just tell people, how can you go wrong with a company that has done so much for so many people for so long? So who deserves your business? Well, it should be a company that has a philosophy and a history and that educates other people into the goal of health and prosperity while preserving and protecting the environment, folks. This is the bottom line. And for 64 years, Shaklee products have been used in this manner, and not one has ever been taken off the market because of something that was bad in it or that something that was found to be unhealthy. They've never removed anything from, been forced to remove a product from the market. And if you go to the FDA and the CDC websites, you will see that products are removed every single day from companies throughout the United States. Most of the products, drugs actually, many of them, that were once considered safe are later found to be toxic or have side effects. Shaklee has never had one product, and I mean that, not one product that has ever been removed from the market by the FDA or the ITC or the CDC. So people who love other people, people that believe in the golden rule, people who are honest, people believed that now is the right time for the right reason to be in Shaklee, I say you've got everything going for you. So with that, I'm going to open up the chat room if I can here. And we will have you, let's see, share your comments. Hold on here. I got to make this thing, make sure this is working. Okay, and.
Hi, Dr. Brouse.
Yes. Please, go ahead.
Everything was wonderful. Thank you. What a wonderful presentation with so many details and context, which as a fairly new Shaklee person, I totally appreciated. A question about the something that got me excited. I'm a sustainability consultant, and you're mentioning about the packaging is super exciting to me. I mean, we've got so much going for us in terms of how Shaklee treats the environment along with everything else we do. And I wondered if you could share a little bit more about that, or some of those details. I wrote some notes, but wanted to hear that.
Okay, first you understand that patents are to protect the quality of either the procedure, the process, the method of doing something. That's what a patent is for. And Shaklee does this because there are so many companies out there that could find a shortcut in a procedure. In other words, instead of doing a triple distillation, molecular distillation without heat in order to purify a product, they could do a shortcut and they could cut the price and say, well, we have the same method that Shaklee does and ours is, you know, only half the price. By patenting it, you guarantee that the quality of that procedure is going to be used throughout the industry. And there are people that have actually, there are companies that have actually bought into and bought the rights to use some of Shaklee's procedures in their product. But because Shaklee owns the patent, they have control over it. And that's a wonderful thing for the whole industry. So I appreciate, does that help answer your question, or did I answer the right one?
That was great. I had a question about the packaging.
Okay, go ahead.
The idea of the recycling or compostable packaging.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere in the future.
Well, yeah, here's the interesting thing on that, the bottom line. And I don't have the scientific insight into that right at the moment, but I know that many companies are trying to come up with some way that the packaging only goes one direction. And it would be wonderful if they could come up with a product that you could take the bottle, you could put it in your blender, grind it up, and put it on your flower bed, and your flowers could get some benefit from it. That would be wonderful. And Shaklee is working on packaging material that will protect the product inside the container and not absorb water and not be gassy as permeable and all these other things, but that can be used in a safe way to support other life. I wish they'd come up with one I could feed to my chickens, feed the bottles to yet, but I don't know that that's going to happen. So the processes that are going on in California, you've got companies that are taking waste vegetable material from the processing plants, putting it into a big vat, mixing it with enzymes, digesting it into a slurry. It's called a vegetable and plant slurry, using it as a paste to put on the outside of avocados and apples and soon to be other veg plants as well, that can resist refrigeration for months even. Avocados and apples that will not need refrigeration because they're coated with this chemical slurry. Well, I don't know what the slurry really is, but they're trying to get more and more away from the product breaking down, and yet they're trying to come up with a way so that the container can be recycled and reused. Not just recycled. 40% of all of the materials, plastics and paper products right now are destined for recycling, but actually only about 10% actually make it. Isn't that sad? And it's because it ends up in landfills, and they don't separate it the way some other smaller countries are doing. So we have some room for improvement in our handling of the packaging and the material. But Shaklee has reduced the amount of packaging by having a concentrates and by keeping things without the water that you and I can add to the cleaners and whatnot. And so I think they're the steps that are going forward. So I would say before long, we're probably going to have some amazing breakthroughs in the whole area of the containers. So I don't know of any specifics, so I don't have any information that I'm withholding from you. I'm just saying that all the industry is going in that way. Okay? All right. Anyone else? Question, comment?
Hey, Dr. Brouse.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation tonight.
Thank you.
On the Omega Guard, I understand there's more than just EPA and DHA in the Shaklee product. Could you explain a little more about that?
Well, what you're talking about is in the Omega Guard and in the Mighty Smarts. And the truth is that there are 7 known naturally occurring omega-3s that are found in the products. But only EPA and DHA have had good studies on them, and EPA is usually the most abundant one, and it has to do with the development at an embryological level and the maintenance of nervous tissue and anti-inflammatories and proper microcirculation of capillaries to prevent things like strokes, for instance. As you know, not all strokes, actually less than half strokes, actually are due to a blood clot. More than half of them are due to a restriction in the blood vessel due to spasm, due to inflammatory effects, including allergies and environmental pollutants. And when that happens, the tissue that is fed by that capillary or small artery actually starves and you have cell death. So more than half of the strokes have nothing to do with blood pressure, have nothing to do with blood clots, but everything to do with spasm and shutting off of blood vessels. Then you can get a clot form after the spasm has taken place. And the omega-3s help in preventing that. So there is a clinical test where we measure all of the omega-3s in the blood and compare it with the inflammatory fats that are produced from carbohydrates and genetics to offset that. How much EPA and Mighty Smarts do you or your children need in order to offset those factors? And we can measure that. You don't have to guess. And I have people that say, well, I take 3 every day and I take 5. That may be good, but genetically you may need 6. And a few people might need 10. Now, don't overdo it. You don't get carried away if you don't know. But I would say what's on the label is the safest thing for most people to take most of the time. And that's what Shaklee recommends. So 7 of the omega-3s, not just DHA and EPA are there. Does that help?
Yeah, very much so. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, we got time for one more. Who's next? Shaklee difference. Well, I think we've run out of time. Maybe I answered most of your questions as we went. So for tonight's Coffee Talk, no, it's not Coffee Talk. This is the Teleclinic. Tomorrow morning's the Coffee Talk. I want to thank you. Have a wonderful Shaklee day and share this with your friends if you can. It will be on our website for the next couple of weeks till we do the next one, and then it will be in our permanent library for downloading. You can use it and share it with your folks. So for tonight, have a wonderful Shaklee day. I'm Dr. Brouse, and good night.